Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today. And today, the Houston Rockets play Game 7 of the NBA first round, playing the Golden State Warriors. Oh my God, I'm just so hyped for this game. It is going to be amazing. A Game 7, the Rockets trying to come back from 3-1 for the first time since 2015. Also, will try to be the third in franchise history, 1994 against the Suns. And then also they did it in 2015 against the Clippers, thanks to Josh Smith and Corey Brewer. Sent it, there was an amazing Game 5 comeback. Then they won Game 6 and Game 7. And so, that was the last time we saw the Rockets come back from 3-1. Here's another thing I will point out. Teams that are down 3-1 and come back from 3-1 to send a Game 7 in their home court. Teams are 9-3 when down 3-1, force it to a Game 7 at their home court. They are 9-3. So the Rockets will try to add to that record, trying to make that 10-3 tonight. But we are gonna. This is not my preview to the game. I am going to do a preview. We're gonna preview the game a little bit. But I'm going to be talking about specifically in this video what the Houston Rockets need to do in this game today to win. It is going to be hard. These last 2 games have been really easy for this Rockets team. I think there were some troubles in the first 3 quarters. The Warriors, they fought in the first 3 quarters. And Steve Kerr said this himself, the killing moment for them was when in the first 6 seconds of the fourth quarter, Fred VanVleet hit a 4-point play. After that, I think you really saw the Warriors just fall apart. And the Rockets dominated them in that fourth quarter. The Rockets dominated them the whole game in Game 5. Can they continue to do that? Stephen Curry in Game 7 is going to be a different human. That's one thing we know. Jimmy Butler's probably going to be a different human. Both of those guys I thought were pretty good. Outside of the fourth quarter, both of those guys through 3 quarters were really good in that game. So Steph and Jimmy are going to play good basketball. It's the other guys. Can the other guys show up for this Golden State Warriors team? The Rockets in the last 2 games, I feel like I've done a really good job. I mean, look, outside of Moses Moody in Game 5, I think the Rockets did a really good job of settling, stopping the Warriors. Defensively, the Rockets were killing them. Moses Moody, Pat Spencer came in. They knocked down some shots in, as we call, garbage time. But, so it just wasn't, but it wasn't something I would say it was, it wasn't, the Rockets defensively were amazing in that game. And they stopped the Warriors, the other, as Shaquille O'Neal likes to say, the others. And that's what the Rockets did in this last game. Steph and Jimmy were amazing. They absolutely killed it. But outside of that, there wasn't a lot of other, Podziemski was struggling. He was struggling to shoot the ball. I thought Moses Moody actually did pretty good for the Warriors, but Buddy Hield struggled for this Warriors team. Draymond hit some early shots, but outside of that, he hasn't really done much offensively. He didn't reach 10 points. He hasn't reached 10 points in this series. So the Rockets, I feel like, have done a really good job against the others, and outside of Steph and Jimmy. And if that's something they can continue to do, I don't think we can talk about containing Steph and Jimmy. Maybe the Rockets can make those guys less of a problem. But if Steph and Jimmy are a problem, but you stop the other guys on this team and you make their lives living hell, then this Rockets team will have success. You saw it in this last game with outside of Steph and Jimmy, there wasn't a lot of other success for this Warriors team. And if you see that again in this Game 7 tonight, things will go well for this Rockets team. But I want to switch it to the offensive, offensively. I'm going to point this out. This Rockets team in the first half of that Game 6 was reckless. I think as the game went on, they became much more careful with the basketball. But early on, this Houston Rockets team was very reckless with the basketball. Jalen Green was one of them, but there were other players. I can't put all the blame on Jalen Green here because he was one of the guys in the first quarter, maybe you even could say first half, that was really reckless with turnovers. Turnovers in the first half were really bad. First quarter, really. It wasn't just Jalen Green. It was Alp. He had a turnover in that first quarter I believe there were a bunch of turnovers early on for the Houston Rockets team in the first half. They really did cut that down in the second half, and I think that is why they played much better basketball in the second half. But if you want the first half, you want to be dominant in the first half. You've got to cut the turnovers down. They cut the turnovers down in the second half. What the first half was here, I said this while watching the game with my grandfather on Saturday night while watching the game. Or sorry, it's Friday night while watching the game. I'm really thrown off right now. I just got back in town in Houston last night, and for some reason, yesterday just feels like a Sunday, and today feels like a Monday. I don't know why. Today feels like a Monday because yesterday felt like a Sunday. I think for me, I think the Astros' performance yesterday made it feel like a Sunday too. I don't know why. But if you watch the Astros, you'll just look you know. But the Astros' performance yesterday was unbelievable. But so the Rockets, they've got to be more. They've got to be more, better with the basketball. The one thing it reminded me of was Game 1. I said it. Look, I said this to my grandfather. Offensively, in the beginning of the game, with the way they were being reckless with the basketball and turning the basketball over, it reminded me of Game 1. But offensively, they were shooting better. Like if you look at Game 1. For the Rockets team, they were turning the ball over and they weren't making shots. Well, in game 6, early on, they were turning the ball over and they were making shots. So that was the difference. But I hope that in this Game 7, early on, we can see, not being reckless and not turning the basketball over and just making shots. And so if that does happen, that will lead to success. So one thing I've talked about is keeping the others outside of Steph and Jimmy from not doing a lot of damage like the Rockets have done, like they did in the last game. Not being reckless and turning the basketball over early on in the first couple quarters like the Rockets did in the last game. And then another thing I will say is I think one thing you would want in this game is Dillon Brooks to show up. Dillon Brooks didn't even play 20 minutes because of foul trouble. Dillon Brooks was key to the Rockets in the last game at Toyota Center with his 24 points. Amazing shooting. You want Dillon Brooks to stay out of foul trouble. That is one huge key to this Rockets team tonight is Dillon Brooks staying out of foul trouble. You need him defensively. You need him, for three-point shooting. Dillon Brooks needs to be on this floor for this Houston Rockets team tonight. Then that is key for them to win in the game. So you need Dillon Brooks to stay out of foul trouble. Outside of that, I think it's just kind of obvious things that this Rockets team needs tonight. You need Fred VanVleet to keep playing the way he has played this series. One thing I'd like to see is I'd like to see Amen Thompson attack more. I think he's done that this last couple games. He's done well. He's done better. He's done a lot better in these last couple games to start off than the way he started off this series. And I think he's doing a solid job getting getting to the rim, and he's getting fouled a lot at the rim too. Some that are not getting some calls that he is getting some calls here and there, but there are some times where a man is going to the rim and he's not getting a call. But at the same time, it's both ends. Steph has experienced that offensively going against this Rockets team. There have been a lot of physical plays that should be called fouls on both ends for the Warriors and for the Rockets. The refs have just let that slide in this series for both teams. And so, but Amen Thompson, I think in the last couple games has done a lot better job attacking the rim. And so I'd like to see him doing that more. I'd just like to see what Alperen Sengun did in this last game and playing Steven Adams more. Even if they're gonna force him to the free throw line. I know it sucks, but Steven Adams made him pay. I mean, 9 for 16. That's way better than 50%. I think it's 60-something%. And we're talking about Steven Adams, a guy who didn't even shoot 50% of the free throw line on the season, 46%. So, but the Warriors do not have a lot to do when Steven Adams is on the floor with Alperen Sengun. They do not have a big man. Draymond Green Quinn Post is out there, but he's not a guy that plays all the time. If the Warriors have their starters on the floor and Steven Adams is on the floor with Alperen Sengun, Draymond is the biggest guy on the floor at like 6'5", 6'6", and the Rockets got their small forward shooting guard is as big as the Warriors. Draymond is 6'5". And the Rockets shooting guard in their starting lineup. Let's just say the Rockets were to take Jalen Green out early in the game, right? Bring in Steven Adams. And then the lineup is Fred, Dillon, Amen, and and then Alp and Shingun. Sorry, Alp and Adams, and then you would see the Warriors have their starting lineup up on the floor. Let's just say the Rockets decided to sub Jalen Green out early for whatever reason. Maybe he's in foul trouble. Maybe he's not playing well. Warriors have their starters out there. Rockets have all their starters outside of Jalen Green out there, and then Adams. Then the Rockets' shooting guard is just as big as the Warriors' center. So there's a big size issue for this Warriors team in this series. You've seen it all series with the rebounding, how much the Rockets have killed them on the boards, and so the Warriors get killed even more on the boards, offensive and defensive, if Adams and Şengün are on the floor together. And even though the fouling, the hacking Adams or whatever you want to call it, can get annoying. It could hurt this Rockets team. It's still at the same I think it's to me I think it's really it's to me it's a sissy thing to do. Because Steve Kerr knows his team is in trouble if he does not do that thing with Steven Adams and try to force Steven Adams out of the game. Because they are in serious trouble if Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün are on the floor together at all times, or most times. And so, but that is something that needs to continue to happen with Alp and Adams being on the floor together, because the Warriors just simply can't stop it. Şengün's more dangerous when Adams is on the floor too. And so, I'd love to see the Rockets continue with this Şengün Adams thing. And I want to thank Anthony Davis for that. Anthony Davis is the reason this has happened. Like, that, Anthony Davis' amazing debut at the Mavs. If you guys remember, AD killed it, in his first game as a Maverick, and in the first half was absolutely murdering the Rockets. That is what pushed Ime Udoka, the big man lineup of Daniel Gafford and Anthony Davis in that first game that Anthony Davis ever played as a Maverick. That is what pushed Ime Udoka to try the double big lineup, and it worked. And then Ime Udoka kept going to it. So thank you to the Dallas Mavericks, Anthony Davis and Daniel Gafford for pushing this, because I don't know how things would have gone for this. I think the series would already be over if Ime Udoka never explored the Adams Şengün double big lineup. The Rockets, I think, probably would have lost in I don't know. I'd say the Rockets probably would have lost in 6 games in this series if they didn't explore the double big lineup at some point this season, but they have, and now there's probably a solid chance they win this series because of it. And if so, it would be incredible to see this team win tonight. I'm really excited for this game tonight. I think it should be a great game. The last thing I will go over is Jalen Green. He's got to be good tonight, and if he's not, if shots aren't falling immediately, don't shoot the ball. You've got too many good players around you to continue to shoot the ball. Like 3 for 11 last game. Should have realized early on shots weren't falling. That's something I don't think Jalen Green does enough, is realize shots aren't falling. You've got to pass to your teammates, and especially when you've got hot teammates around you. Like, you've got too many great players around you to be continuing to shoot the ball. You got Fred VanVleet, you've got Alperen Şengün, Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr., Steven Adams, who even though he's not great at the free throw line, he is pretty automatic when you give him the ball. He was 4 for 4 last game. So, honestly, you've got to if you're Jalen Green, if shots are falling early on, you've got the green light. You got to continue to shoot the basketball. But if shots are not falling early on, don't shoot unless you're like wide open. You feel like 110% confident about the shot. Jalen Green needs to make better decisions. And so that's something that will be key to this Rockets game tonight. But you know what? If he doesn't play well, there are no excuses, because the Rockets we've seen in the last 2 games. You didn't see this at all in this series before the last 2 games. You've seen in the last 2 games the Rockets can win against this team. They can win games in this series if Jalen Green's not going to play well. They've won the last 2 games in this series with Jalen Green not playing well, scoring a total of only like 23 points in the last 2 games. So you can win 2 games without Jalen Green playing good basketball. That's no excuse. There's no excuse if he doesn't play well, but he does have to make the right decisions. So hopefully the Rockets go out there and get a win today. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out. Go Rockets.